Can you hear me now? Ugh, I hate it when that's the first words that come out of the panel moderator's mouth at the beginning of a panel discussion. My name is Kristen Arnold, and I am a master facilitator and a leading authority on moderating panel discussions. And if you are a panel moderator or a panelist, you should know how to use a microphone. Let's find out how. Now, whether you are a panel moderator or a panelist, you should know how to use microphone. Generally, you will be using either a lavalier, like I'm using a lavalier right now. There's a handheld. There might be a microphone at the lectern. You might actually have a headset. You might be using a catchball, which is a throwable microphone. You need to know how to use them. In this video, I'm going to share with you some general tips about how to use microphones, period. And then we're going to get to some very specifics about different microphones. Sound good? Let's dive right in. Alrighty, so here's tip number one. Make the AV technician your best friend. Especially if you are the panel moderator, make sure you get to the venue in plenty of time, that you can talk with the AV person, that you make sure that everything is working well, that they have sound levels, that they've checked your microphone, that you know how to use your microphone, and that you have everything set up that you know how it's going to work. Your AV person is your best friend. Now, there are some venues that you will be using an AV setup where there is not an AV technician, in which case you need to understand how to use it. Turn it on, turn it off, adjust the level, basic, simple stuff. Make sure that you get there and you talk to, maybe it's the hotel venue, that they're using the hotel's internal system. Just make sure that you, as the panel moderator, or you have the panel organizer, specifically knows how to use that system if there is not an AV person there. By the way, I just was talking to the AV technician, and he goes, he's never seen anybody do that. So if you want to be memorable, something like a gift card would be awesome. Okay, here's another general tip. Know where the on and off button is. Whether you're got a handheld, how many times have I picked up a handheld and I think it's on, but it's off, or it's off, but it's on, I don't know, and you just look like an idiot trying to figure out if it's on or off. Know how to turn it on or off. Or if you're wearing a lavalier, turn it off if you're going to the restroom. Enough said there. Here's another general tip. Make sure that whatever system you're using, it has new batteries. And I will actually ask the AV tech, does this have new batteries in it? Because the last thing that you want is to have your microphone go out because there are old batteries in it. Another tip, make sure that you and your AV team do a sound check. You might say, oh, well, people have been using the microphones before, maybe in the session before, but your voice level is different than maybe the person beforehand. Maybe where you put the lavalier or where you hold your handheld mic. These are all different, and you want to make sure that you do a sound check. Turn off your cell phone. Just turn it off. Now, I choose to put mine on silent, which means that my watch will still probably vibrate. It's not a big deal. It won't interrupt. But you want to make sure that your cell phone doesn't interrupt the proceeds of the program as you get notified, dinged of a message or an email or whatever comes in, either on your watch or on your phone. So it's just easier to turn it off. And oh, by the way, do not put your cell phone next to your transmitter, like the lavalier pack, because it may interfere with the RF frequencies. Finally, as a general tip, just assume that everything that you're wearing, whether it's a headset or a lavalier or a handheld or you're by the lectern, just assume that it's all live. There have been many reporters actually who have been caught saying inappropriate things when they thought the microphone was off. You don't want to be that person. Now, before we get into specific tips about each of the microphones, did you already learn something interesting? Please put it in the comments below. And while you're there, maybe hit the like button and maybe even subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it. Okay, so let's talk about the lavalier microphone. That is what I am wearing right now. This is actually my preferred microphone setup. I used to use a headset, and I just don't like it. I don't want to look like Britney Spears, quite frankly. And most of the time, AV techs, they put a piece of tape on the side of your head, especially if you're using a Countryman. I'm not a big fan. I just like a lavalier, and usually the lavalier has a little clip here, right? And if you are not wearing something that it can clip to within about a fist or so from your mouth, fist or two, then you need to wear something that it can clip to, right? And it comes with a pack. Okay, so here's the pack, right? It has a clip. You need to have something that it will clip to, whether it's a belt or it's something. So if you're a woman and you're wearing a dress and it doesn't have a belt or it doesn't have pockets, it's going to be hard to clip this to. You know what we end up clipping it to is the back of your bra. But I mean, that works. Or there's actually something called an aha. I think it's called an aha, that straps to your thigh of your leg, which is just uncomfortable as all get out. So just make sure that you're wearing the appropriate clothing that you can clip your pack onto something, and make sure that you hide all those lovely cords. That's the lavalier. Two other things about a lavalier. One is the lavalier is a very sensitive mic, and you want to make sure that you don't have really dangly jewelry, things that are gonna make noise, because as you move around, this microphone will pick it up. Lastly, you really don't want to wear your lavalier into the restroom or out in the hallway, because it has enough of a reach that you might think you've got it turned off and it might still be on. So just be careful of that, because it's really easy to forget that you've got your lavalier microphone on. So now let's talk about a handheld microphone. Generally speaking, the panel moderator will have at least a lavalier. Many of the panelists will have a handheld microphone, or actually the microphone will be on a small stand in front of them. So if you have a handheld microphone, make sure it doesn't have any hair on it. But really, when you're using it, number one, know how to turn it off and on. And when you're using a handheld microphone, think about it like you're a fist away, and then it's in the general direction of your mouth. You don't have to put it here, and you don't have to put it here. But this is why a sound check is really important. So the AV tech will coach you as to what the distance is, and whether you're too close, too far, what your sound levels is, because nothing is more irritating than, can you hear me now? Is this on? It ruins your credibility. See, so I'm even like talking in this, and I know I've got a lavalier. Isn't that funny? Three other things about using the microphone. Number one is that when you're trying to figure out if it's on or off, don't do this, because this has a very sensitive diaphragm. If you want to test, just scratch it lightly, and you'll be able to tell if that's picking it up or not. So no tapping, but just a light scratch to see if it's on or not, versus, is this on or not? Another trick is that you can snap your fingers right into it, and then you can hear it. Another thing that you might want to keep in mind is how you're holding it. This is not like the death grip. Hold it lightly and easily. And in fact, you can hold it various distances to create intrigue. Like if it's a secret, you would come in. If you know that you're going to be doing a loud booming effect, you might want to hold it a little bit further. So think about how you're holding the microphone so that you can add that intrigue into your voice, and that it's not the death grip. Finally, when it comes to handheld, sometimes organizations don't have enough money, quite frankly, to pay for every panelist to have either a lavalier or a handheld. If there isn't enough money in a budget, what they'll do is they'll ask the panelists to share a microphone, which is perfectly fine. Just make sure that you're not always holding the microphone. Like this is the talking stick. So you're going to be passing it to other people. Usually the person in the middle of the panel is the person that kind of holds the talking stick because it's easy to get it to one way or the other. So those are some ideas about using a handheld microphone. The other reason why I like to have a handheld microphone is that when I am moderating a panel, I like to go out into the audience and get the questions from the audience. Now, if I'm using a handheld microphone for the entire time, it makes it easier. If I have a lavalier and a microphone, I get confused. Like, am I talking into the microphone? Am I talking into the lavalier? And in fact, in some organizations where we really don't have enough money, I will use my lavalier as the microphone. I'll just take it off and I'll use it as the microphone to ask the audience member to ask their question. I never hand my lavalier over to the audience member. And in fact, I hardly ever hand a handheld microphone over to an audience member. Why? Because they'll hold on to it and tell us everything that they love about the panel, everything that they love about the panelists, and eventually get to their question. So sometimes a microphone is on a stand, whether it's on a stand in front of you or in the audience on a large stand. So there's a couple of things that you want to make sure that you know how to do. Number one is how to take it in and out of the stand. I know that sounds really stupid, but sometimes it can be challenging depending on how it's clipped in. So know how to take it in and out of the stand itself. Number two is how to raise and lower the stand, because sometimes the way that the AV tech has set it up, it's too high or it's too low. So just make sure that you know how to raise and lower the stand. Finally, if you do have a microphone that is on a stand in the panel, if you are on a table, which I do not recommend these little stands or the table, but sometimes you are sharing it, and usually it's between two people. If you are sharing, just make sure that you understand how to pass it between the two. Sometimes they're really heavy, or maybe they are actually built into the table. So just make sure that you understand how to move it, and maybe there's a toggle on that desktop stand that you have to turn on in order to activate the microphone. Just understand your microphones and how to use them. The last kind of microphone that I'm going to talk about is the Lectern microphone. And that is when you are standing in front of a lectern. Some people call it a podium. Technically, it's called a lectern. And there is a microphone that is is attached to the lectern, and it's got a movable neck. Adjust the neck to about where your mouth is. And then after that, leave it alone. The microphones on these lectern stands are very, very sensitive, and you could be over here, you could be up, you could be low. It will catch your voice. So you don't feel like you have to lean in, you don't have to feel like just set it once and forget it. If people can't hear you, trust me, the audience will let you know. Final thing about microphones on a lectern. It's very, very sensitive microphone. And if you have paper or jangly things, it just is very, very distracting. So just make sure that whatever you put on that lectern, it's soft, maybe one or two pieces of paper, but not a lot of stuff. So we've just covered the general practices on microphones and specific use cases, because if the audience can't hear you, they're going to tune you out. They're going to either multitask or they're just going to walk right out. So my hope is that you got some ideas, and you know what? This is all about helping you organize your panel to make sure that the experience is awesome for your audience. For more information about how to organize a panel discussion, you might want to check out my free white paper on how to organize a panel discussion at www.powerfulpanels.com/panel-organizer. Thanks for watching.